The intention of the session is for you to hear from cooperatives that are part of San Diego's food system, wherein the speakers represent agricultural, food consumer, and worker cooperatives. They are people who endeavor to embody their values in their businesses such that we have a more equitable and human-centered economy. Thank you. Thanks for doing that. So I'm Mai Nguyen, a farmer and co-op developer and member of the co-op movement for 20 years now. As of last month, marks my 20-year anniversary. Thanks. So I'll be moderating this session and also look forward to learning from the wisdom and experience of our panelists. So before we get started, though, I know we had a very exciting intro session out there. I'm just so moved by the taiko drummers in particular. I told the person next to me, I was like, before they started drumming, I was like, look, I'm gonna cry, okay? Taiko drummers always make me cry. So I want us to just ground into this session, into this time where we get to hear these stories. And so what I'd like for all of us to do is to just take a moment to think of what we need to let go of or let be in order to be present for this storytelling. So please just take a moment, set aside that to-do list, and we'll take 3 deep breaths to ground into this moment. So breathing in the moment, breathing out the past, breathing in the moment, breathing out the future, breathing in the moment, breathing out the moment. Okay. All right, welcome back. So we will just go ahead and get started with this storytelling. And I would love for each of you to just introduce us to your co-op. Tell us your name, your co-op's name, type of co-op, when was the idea conceived, when was it officially launched, knowing that oftentimes there is a gap. And where are you at now? How many members do you have? And just give us that overview. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me here today. My name is Kim Rivero-Frink, and I'm on the board of Suncoast Market Co-op, and we are a consumer food co-op located in Imperial Beach. We are still technically a startup, but we've been a startup for 8 years. It's a long process. We started, I would say, in late 2015 when there was a new shopping center going in and residents were rallying, the city was rallying to get a better grocery store. We had one small independent full-service grocery store that had a bad reputation for expired food, and Imperial Beach is just, it's in the southwest corner of San Diego County, kind of an under-resourced community. And so it was apparent that no other store, the kinds of stores that people were looking for were going to come in. So there was somebody who actually had gone to school on the East Coast said, why don't we do a food co-op? And a lot of people didn't know what that was. So there was an exploratory community meeting in December of 2015 where we invited the general manager of Ocean Beach People's Food Co-op, which was it still is the only food co-op in San Diego County, to talk. And we didn't know how many people might show up, and 50 people came. So we started organizing in 2016, and one of my fellow organizers, Shirley Soth, is in the back volunteering. She's our board treasurer. So she's been around since I have, as well as several other board members. So we started organizing in 2016, started doing all the work to get incorporated, all of that. We are now have a site. We got the keys last week after, yes. Yeah, finally, it's been, I could tell you long stories about doing development. We hope to start construction in January and open next summer, so I hope you'll all come and visit. And we started as a consumer food co-op. People join the co-op. They become what we call owner members. And we started our launch to get people engaged in the co-op in 2018, early 2018, after we had done all of our corporation, work, bylaws, mission, vision, all of that. So I think I covered, most of the history. Oh, right now, we have 1,195 member owners. So those are households and households and families and businesses. And we hope to have about 1,500 before we open next summer. So I'll turn over to Byron.
You can join.
Yes, please join. There's materials in the back there by Shirley.
Hi, everyone. My name is Byron Nkoma. I'm a small farmer. I own Hukama Produce, but right now I'm representing Food Shed Co-op, which is a small farm co-op, and it started. The idea started way back around 2015. Solidarity Farm, which was in Valley Center. And people like Kirsten, who's in this room, Ellie, Nan, were just like bringing in new people, new farmers on the land to start growing food and as apprentices. And after somebody learns how to grow, they would actually start their own enterprise. And that is where Hukama started as well. So we started from Solidarity, and then now we're independent, growing in Ramona. We're still growing. We are part of the Food Share Co-op, and the co-op then was established in March of 2020, and it's been growing. We have more than 22 farmers who are on the crop plan. But those who are members to the co-op are about 15. And we also have employees who are owners of the co-op as well. And in total number of employees, we have around 15 employees, about 4 members at the moment. And that's what we do. We aggregate our food and distribute to our local food banks and so on. So that is Food Shed Co-op, right here in San Diego, California. Thank you.
Thanks, Byron. Byron, actually, before the mic gets too far from you, did you say how many CSA members that you have? Community Supported Agriculture members? Do you know?
Did you say?
Do you know how
farmers
many? Or the customers. So Food Shed, in their aggregation of produce from different small farms, they offer a CSA box, Community Supported Agriculture box.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if you know roughly how many CSA members you have at this point. The last I checked, there were like 500, but that was a while ago. So I was wondering if you happen to know.
Yeah, we're still around that number, but we also have increased our aggregation through LFPA boxes, which is the local food purchasing agreement, and those boxes are going to our local food banks, and with that number, we are talking of thousands of boxes. Yes, thank you.
Incredible, thank you. But also, anybody here in San Diego can purchase a Food Shed CSA box. Yes. Yeah. All right, Cynthia.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Cynthia Ajani. I am co-owner of Cafe X by Any Beans Necessary. The coffee that you were drinking this morning is our X Factor blend. We came up with that blend back in 2020. That was, yes. So hopefully you enjoyed it. It's a medium roast Papua New Guinea Ethiopian blend. While we were on COVID vacation in 2020, we were working on coffee. So the question is, that's who I am. This idea was conceived, I would say, about 2015, and my daughter, founder and CEO of Cafe X by Any Beans Necessary, was involved with the fellowship program at RISE San Diego. So everyone who participates has to do a community capstone project, and Cafe X by Any Means Necessary was my daughter's capstone project. So, but the idea of it came before she even reached there. And I think about energy and how that flows, and you said storytelling. Once upon a time, she was kind of like me in that back in the 80s when we didn't have a whole lot of, certainly didn't have a whole lot of co-ops because we don't even have them now. We had these ideas about how to get our friends' businesses all in one place. And I feel like that energy just moved on down another decade and just hit my daughter, and it stayed with her and waited until she developed all the brilliance that she has right now. So 2016, she went into Rise, and then she actually launched Cafe X in 2018. So we had a cupping, and we had community gathered up, and we had charrettes that people got to write on. What would you like to see? They said, walls of succulents and a place where we can gather and, you know, combo specials, whatever it was, they wrote it down, they drew it, they put smiley faces, all the things. And we tried to incorporate that into every step of the process from the very inception. Community was involved, we did the legwork and the come bring yourself and bring a friend and let's see what this could look like. So that's always been the vision, is to have community involved and have a place where we could network and meet up and have meetings and eat and drink and play and all the things. So it was very clear, the vision. I don't think that ever changed from day one. We are a worker-owner cooperative. So right now at this point it's my daughter and I, but she started with a whole table of people. It was like the disciples. It was like 12 of them. But no, people fell off because, I mean, it's a notion. You really have to be committed. You have to share and be in alignment, not only align with the vision, but be able to stay on that road and continue on that track no matter what, no matter the disagreements, no matter, okay, oh, there's something else looks good that I want to do. You think about the team and you keep moving together and you talk about as those things come up, you know? So that is like, I think the most key thing is finding that right team. Is it the fabulous 2, fantastic 7, wonderful 9, whatever it's gonna be, but it has to be some folks that are aligned and really committed to that because it's your heart. It's like a marriage. It's like, listen, your money, your time, your energy are going to be there. And it makes it worthwhile when you know that it's more than just you. It was literally built for community. So when I'm doing the work, it feels like I'm doing this, it's everybody. It's not just us, it's not for Cafe X to blow up, it's for the community to grow and really get connected. So that, I think, told you about the official launch, number of members. Right now, our complement is 2 operator owners, Key and myself. We have 3 employees and an intern. We have an internship program at Cafe X. And so we have 1 intern, you probably saw Anna out there today. She's kind of fresh. And 2 of the employees that we have on hire right now came from an internship program that was a partnership with Access Inc. So again, looking for youth in the community to work with CBOs in the community that are doing the work and trying to develop humans and businesses. So that's Cafe X in a nutshell.
Yeah, thank you for introducing your projects, your areas of passion, and I mean, you all have spoken to or touched on, you know, the different reasons why people start cooperatives. Some of it's practical, ideological, political, or happenstance, and Cynthia, you particularly got us more into the insight of, well, during that process, it can be challenging. Right? You're getting together with a new group of people, and there are few resources out there, few peers to look to, and so that those challenging times can lead to some doubt. Right? So what I want to hear actually is from each of you to tell us about a moment or the moment where it clicked for you that the co-op is right for you. It was right for your group. And when you felt certain that despite all of those challenges, you were going to go for co-op.
Okay, I love that question. I actually had 2 moments. So I really knew it was right when I started connecting with people across the state and across the country who were in the co-op movement, because we didn't really have a co-op movement here, and it still is starting to build in San Diego, which is really, really exciting. So I went to the California Center for Cooperative Development conference in 2016 and met Mai, and I was, and it was funny because I was looking at my folders trying to figure out, well, what year was it that I went, and I found Mai's Cooperatives 101 slides from that conference. But it was great because I got to connect with cooperators, worker cooperatives, agricultural cooperatives, and really kind of see what it was all about and how aligned those values were with mine. And then in 2017, there's a national conference for food co-ops called the Up and Coming Food Co-op Conference, and that was just so inspiring to be with fellow cooperators from across the country, focused on creating better food systems, focused on food justice and food equity, focused on supporting local farms like, Food Shed, focused on supporting, small local businesses, focused on sustainability, protecting our environment, from trying to change from industrial farming to more sustainable and regenerative methods. And so I just really found like I had found my people, and just hearing the stories, of how people were making this happen in a whole range of communities. In the 1970s, food co-ops were very much, well, there's been different times when food co-ops have risen throughout history when, oftentimes in challenging, economically challenged communities, times. But in the 70s, a lot of it was around the organic food movement, when you couldn't get organic food at Walmart or Vons or those kinds of places. And so a lot of them were opening up in college towns and, upper middle class white communities. And as I got involved in the food co-op movement, in 2016 and 17, it was really, especially with food co-ops, has really been changing a lot more diversity, a lot more focus on food justice. There's a really big, strong African American food co-op movement across the country. We haven't seen a lot of majority Hispanic Latino communities with food co-ops yet. I think Imperial Beach is going to be the very first in the country. We're like 53% Hispanic Latino community. So we're excited about that because we think, everybody can benefit from having a food co-op in their community. And, the community, the resident leadership it builds. And I wanted to mention too with Food Shed, I love the work that you guys are doing, and one of our big goals with Suncoast is to source as much as we can from local farms and local small businesses. So probably 25 to 30% of our food and products in our store will be local, and that means that we'll be supporting about 150 farms and businesses across the region. So we're really excited about, collaborating with our farmers and businesses. Yeah.
As for me, as a business owner, I must say, looking at the vision of the Food Shed, the points of unity made a lot of sense. As you can tell from my accent, and I'm sure a lot of people are asking, where does this guy come from? Well, originally I'm from Zimbabwe. And growing up, I always wanted to be a farmer. I always wanted to grow food. And I never thought, it never crossed my mind, I'll be growing food in San Diego. Never. And to then be an immigrant and be able to be part of the local food system was like, how do I do this? All right? You're fighting so many battles and so many barriers. But with Food Shed, I looked at the points of unity, and the first one was like the farmers own the co-op. And I'm thinking, okay, this would help me to say, if I can learn the dynamics of running a co-op, that would be so easy to totally put that in my own business, right? And that has been working great. I looked at the second point of unity, which was like to have all this food being sourced from people of color, right? Of which I am, I think. And I was like, okay, that works. And then to also look at the other point of unity, which is like to create this interdependence between farmers, because as a single farmer, you are fighting your own battles by yourself. And which reminds me, by the way, I was watching this docu-series by, actually it's a documentary by Common Ground. And it was saying that farmers are the one industry that has a rate of about 3.5 to 5% high chances of suicide, right? And looking at those facts, I was seeing that it is very possible because you are fighting so many challenges and you may just give up, right? But having that interdependence, you come together as a community, like you're sitting around a table and you're sharing your issues and how to solve them. You can then, I'm sure everybody in this room can relate how that takes off the burden off your shoulders. And that has been phenomenal. If I cannot figure out how to set up a tunnel, I can just call somebody, hey, I saw you set up some tunnels. Would you come and help? Sure. You know what? In a week's time, they bring this whole team. Like, where did these guys come from? You know? And you're just setting up your tunnel. You are helping each other. That interdependence is phenomenal. And so looking at those facts and some of those pointers, those points of unity, I could see them in action. And I was like, okay, I think this would work. And I can testify that we struggled as Wukama Produce for years, right? And the moment that we really joined hands with other farmers, our sales went up, I'm not lying, more than 400%. And so because of that, I am so grateful to Foodshed. And I'm happy to be sitting on the board as well as a producer representative in that same co-op. So that's when I could see that this should work, and this works. And thanks, everybody.
Okay. So the question is, so the moment we felt certain that starting a co-op was right. Oh, wow. So my daughter, in all her brilliance and her, I call it intuitiveness, because I wasn't involved when she first started it. I came in at 2018. She'd already had the idea. She'd already worked it in, in the fellowship group and all that. And then we had the disciples at the table and everything. And then I started going to those meetings and kind of, fly on the wall, here and the wall, participating, war boards, all the things. And then made the decision, I want to be involved and help move this along. All the points that he talked about, the connectivity and how many different streets and avenues were right in front of us. I mean, our coffee shop, I'll give you an example, when he talked about all the different shops that you'll be in later. I mean, all the foods that we source, I don't do no cooking at Cafe X. We don't have a kitchen like that. But we have partnered with bakers and chefs for, all of our catering, where they want different types of foods and stuff. And now, I got a little bit of that in me, so I can still prep things, and I do cook. But by and large, we wanted to create a space where when we got business, other people get business. So we pull in people who can, do the tamales. We're having an event on the 27th, and we'll have a tamale lady on the site. A lot of the charcuterie boards I've gotten, those are fun, guys. I love those. I mean, I've even created charcuterie boxes for lunch and combos. It's like, yes. So I've gotten really good at those. But so all of the pastries that we sell at Cafe X, they're from a local business. There's on Supan Bakery, Sweet Treats by Thick, Drea's Treats, a lot of different folks. So people get an opportunity to be highlighted. There's cross-promotion in the space that way. The word of mouth gets out there. Oh, you can find my stuff here, there. We've been in conversations with a lot of different bakers that have, that are around the city, like Maya. Maya's Cookie. She was at an event at our space. That's the connected community part. We do a lot of workshops and gatherings and things. So Maya was at one of them. It was a mental health kind of event. I just call it an event, a get together. And they had roundtable discussion on mental health issues, and it was supposed to be a creativity through mental health or art through mental health or something like that. And Maya's Cookies were there. She brought cookies, and they decorated cookies as, therapeutic part of the whole session. So when people get involved and they come from all walks, and we can do stuff together like that, it's really cool and really fun. So part of the development, and the reason that I knew it was right is because we can incorporate all of that in a coffee shop, over a cup of coffee, any given day. 2 girlfriends, a whole group of people from work, any of those things, it just flows. It was just vibe. It was just flow all the way through. I said, oh, it's this, and this. And I just kept seeing all this stuff. Yeah, this is absolutely right. We have to do this. I have to be a part of this. I have to help this move. So the moment I knew it was right was when I was sitting around the table, and I'm the oldest one sitting at the table, and they're very savvy, they're brilliant young people, but there's a lot of things that they don't see, right? So that intergenerational opportunity to make those connections and those links with those young people and have them understand how us old folks be thinking sometime and why, that was another opportunity in going into business, And the other thing was that because we were one female, African American, underrepresented in the coffee community, another opportunity. How could you not, right? We're creatives at heart. How could you not? So building that was very important, and I just felt it was right. That's how I got there.
Thank you for sharing all those stories, and I haven't heard them before, so it's really great to hear about your certainty and the good that's happening. But my experience in co-op development and doing public presentations on co-ops is that, again, like I mentioned in the opening session, that because cooperatives haven't been normalized, and there's this grander effort to normalize individualism, capitalism. Whenever cooperatives come up, I always get questions of like, does it really work? It must be really hard to get along with people and make decisions together. And I know that you have experienced that to be so at times. So to kind of just get ahead of the skeptics, I would love for each of you to tell us about a time when you questioned the co-op model. And then, what happened, right? How did that play out? And then how did you come back to the model? How did you resolve that?
I guess I'll start. Before I start on what's been hard and what can sometimes make you question what you're doing, I just want to say, how inspired I am by hearing my colleagues' stories, and it's really connected with me how important, the connection is in co-ops, and how empowering it is and how uplifting it is to work with other people in creating sort of a new ecosystem. And, and you definitely, people come in like with food co-ops, we come to this work sometimes for different reasons, but that's okay, because, there's lots of reasons to, want to have a food co-op in your community, and there's a lot of different benefits that we can, all appreciate from having a food cooperative. So, actually, to be honest, I don't think I ever questioned the co-op model. What I've questioned is, why is it so hard? Why is the system not set up better to help food co-ops and other cooperative enterprises when they bring so many benefits to people, to the community? I've questioned, why is our state spending money on luring big corporations instead of helping food co-ops? Why does this have to be so hard? how can we keep this going with so few resources when it takes, so much of our time to do this? And, I have to say our board has been amazing. I mean, it's hours and thousands of hours of work that we've put in. And, we've lost people for various reasons. There's been times where we've had disagreements, but just seeing that commitment and how motivated people are to make this happen has been really inspiring. So, it has been challenging. There's not enough money out there, not enough resources. I have to say there's a lot of great support for food co-ops, especially nationally. There's a great peer network of people that keeps me going. So whenever I'm feeling discouraged and I get on another peer call and hear how somebody else is succeeding or how they fixed this issue, that really is helpful because it's helping us to learn and to do better and to keep us motivated, to realize that we can make this happen. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. We're going to, have to keep working at it. But we can't give up. We have so much invested at this time in doing this. Failure is not an option for us. So I'd have to say, our team's dedication and passion and seeing other cooperatives is really what brings me back every time I start to feel, challenged. But I really believe in the co-op model. I think it's a great model. We just need more support to help make them happen.
Thank you. For me, at first, I think it was just the pricing, because looking at the model that we had, we were working with farmers markets, and the retail price definitely is way higher than the wholesale that we have to deal with sending our produce through the co-op. So that the prices were an issue. You go into the retail store right now, you find basil probably like 4 ounces for even $15. And you're looking at then taking it to the co-op maybe for way less than that. But so those were the issues that probably were in my head, and for many other farmers as well in the co-op. But after looking at the model as well, to say that for every dollar, the co-op is trying to give probably more than like 80% to the farmer, right? As compared to our current market system where distribution gets that 80%. Right? And so that was great. And not only does it stop there, it also comes back to the farmer to get an extra 5% through incentives that come through the co-op. And so that has worked so great for all the farmers that we have in our co-op. So with that model, with that distribution of the funds, and as well as actually just information gathering for the farmers. I mean, farmers are really busy, doing the day-to-day work, and they may not have enough time to do all this administration, And so grant findings and all these other trainings, and that just added like the icing on the cake to say this would really work to bring back the dollar to the farmer, to bring back the time to the farmer, So the model has worked great for every farmer in the co-op. Thank you.
Thanks, Byron. Sorry, follow-up question. When you say that, for 80 cents to the dollar goes to the farmer instead of the distributor, so you're flipping that, does that also include the money that farmers who are worker owners also get? Or is that on top of the 80%? So say you got the 80% for your produce, but then as a worker owner working at not you particularly, but one of the worker owners working there, and the compensation that they get there, is that in addition to the 80?
No, it is actually separate.
Okay.
It is very separate. Yeah, so when I spoke about an extra 5% that is possibly coming back, that's where the incentives come in.
Okay, that's great. So yes. Still like maybe 85,
yes.
90.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, I'm back. Okay, so when I questioned the co-op model was when you start looking at the funding available for co-ops, which is zip. That's when I start questioning, are we doing the right thing? You sure you want to do this? You could do it. My daughter has a master's in nonprofit leadership and management. She could easily, and I have a business degree. We could do nonprofits all day, right? Not easy. They're not easy. Nonprofits are not easy, but you can certainly do those and fall in the model. But I've over the decades seen so many problems and people and I've worked in at least 7 nonprofit organizations, one for 20 years, a large one in San Diego. One of the issues that I see is the competition for funding, you know? So with co-ops and with, nonprofits, how do we make coalitions that can be meaningful and work for everybody? Because even the nonprofits are looking at co-ops like, ooh, that might be a better structure, because you get out of the government hierarchy and the institutionalized management of how money flows through the states. It's really a creative way of finding a way to thrive. So when I looked at that, I was like, but inside it's like, this is hard. There's no crumbs on the ground, nothing. You kind of have to build the map that you're gonna follow. And we've been extremely lucky. There's the, people like Mai, who's worked with the, developing co-ops, and I just met her, a couple of years ago. There wasn't always a Mai around. Kia has a lot of ends, and her involvement in government policy, because she was a policy advisor, she saw the need for that integration, understanding government, for-profit, nonprofit, community members, and how do you bridge those together where it makes sense, The alignment has to be the importance of, we have food deserts everywhere. Government people, with your partnership and us doing the farming part, and you have some of the money part, and can we get some subsidized funds to do X, Y, Z? Can we make those kind of, partnerships long-term to make some changes in the system that actually serve people instead of trying to mold people and fold them around the system, So that's kind of, to me, that is the future of the co-op movement is really building political structures and all that other stuff that really is for the people, rather than us trying to do everything that's paying government, everything, and we're dealing with the crumbs at the end. So if we can create networks that do that, they'll follow suit, because anytime something's winning, everybody wants to jump on board, right? So my thing is just don't quit. So the doubtful part is the how, but we are brilliant in our own rights. We can build these maps and follow them. Build the plane as you fly it. So that's pretty much the co-op, how I would say the life of the co-op. Build it and grow it as you fly.
Well, what I heard and took away from each of your stories there was that the co-op model is wonderful. It's working. It's just that it's within a larger system that is not working for you, and it's not working for people, and that's why it reinforces why you go back to the co-op model. And that goes from retail pricing, food pricings, to our policies and funding streams. And those are all facets of the ecosystem that we live in, right? And so I want to connect that to a conversation that will be happening later today about building a co-op ecosystem in San Diego so that these co-ops can thrive, so more co-ops can start up. And this ecosystem model has been used by other cities across the country to start up cooperatives in Chicago, New York City, that employ now thousands and thousands of people, low-wage workers, or people who were once low-wage workers and now are earning above a living wage thanks to a supportive co-op ecosystem. So if you're interested in building that ecosystem, there's a session at the end of today's gathering, and then a working group that is an extension of that conversation if you want to keep moving that forward. Yeah. So since you're all sitting together, which is very rare, the few co-op entities in San Diego, I just want to give you an opportunity to ask each other questions before we open it up to the audience.
Okay, Byron. I was curious, how did you get connected with Foodshed, and had you been familiar with cooperative models before?
Yeah, so I wasn't aware of any co-ops around San Diego, but how we got to know about Foodshed actually is because my mother-in-law and her friend Idzai, who's sitting here as well, they are the ones who started the incubator farm with and the apprenticeship with Nan, Ellie, Kirsten, and from there that relationship was built. And as they separated from that farm, started their own thing separately, they kept in touch, sharing their stories. And when the idea now of reaching new markets came, it was like, okay, I think we can put our foot together and meet the needs of a certain market. And from there, it has been growing. And that has grown so big. Now we have people who are in poultry, producing eggs, others who are, in mushrooms and all the other leafy greens, farmers putting all this together. And now we are doing more than 1,000 boxes every week, by the way, to feed San Diego. So that's how everything grew, and we got to be part of Foodshed. Awesome. Yes.
I do. When y'all coming to Cafe X? Well, I mean, I'd love, No, we really, we were fortunate enough when the cooperative conference was here in San Diego down at Liberty Station, we had the opportunity to host a pre and post mixer at Cafe X. One was learning about co-ops, the different types. We hoped that those people would get together and go to the conference and hang out and stuff. And then we had a post where hopefully they came back and they mixed up and actually come up with, I said, guys, my goal here is that we start getting together monthly or quarterly and continue the work and the ideas and the sharing and who wants to develop a co-op. There's all kinds. There's music ones, there's food ones, there's coffee ones, all kinds of ones. So there are groups, and we created a WhatsApp. And you get ebbs and flows, just like with you trying to develop and getting groups together. We've had a few of our own meetings of trying to, pinning each other down, what day works good, all the things. But like I said, as long as you don't give up and you stay on that road, eventually all that energy is just going to come together. My question for you all is, like for our business like Cafe X, and sourcing, because we source from bakeries, et cetera, and for all the other things. I remember having a conversation with Miss Moss, who I've worked with Project New Village. She's here on site today, about, I have fresh mint that goes into my Mamaw's tea. Who farms mint? Can you have mint in the garden that we can source from? Strawberries when they're in season and they're available, I would like to source from, there's spaces, the little box that you're talking about. I want a delivery box every week. So, can we make that work? So that kind of, helps thicken out, and knowing that you guys are there and doing that and have the capacity to be there, that makes me very happy. So my question was, can you do that for us? Yes, and I love that. And it was the answer right here on stage. I love it. So that's my question. And Kim, like I said, we mostly see each other on Zoom, but it's good to be here.
Yeah, we've been partners for a while.
All just witnessed Principle 7 of the International Co-op Principles in action, cooperation amongst cooperatives. So, we'll love to see Foodshed produce at Cafe X. Okay, well, if you don't have any other questions for each other for now, I'll open it up for the audience to ask questions. Yes?
In the description for this session, you mentioned also relationship and cooperation with Native people. Are any of you on the panel involved in that in any way at all?
It was, thank you for bringing that up. It was brought to my attention very recently that the description for this session is that's in that booklet was copied from another session. So actually, I think it's session 3 or 2. Does anyone know? You can read in the booklet, whichever other session has the same description, that's the room for that session. So if anyone wants to transition to that session, you're welcome to do so. Though I think that to your particular question about what is the relationship between any of these co-ops and indigenous peoples, I know Food Shed does have a relationship. I don't know if Byron, if you want to speak to that, and then if any of you want to speak to your relationships.
Sure. Well, I'll just say that, in our goal to source as much as we can locally, we will be sourcing from Food Shed and other, farms. So I don't know, honestly, right now about indigenous farmers in San Diego County, but I hope there are some, and that we'll be able to source from those farms.
Yes. We do have native farmers. Some are in actually close to Ramona, and we do have another group that is in Valley Center. Yeah, and I'm sure they grow a lot of strawberries too in Valley Center, so you might get those strawberries from there as well. So yeah, we do have farmers.
Yeah, and just elaborating on that, so when Byron mentioned Solidarity Farm as a key catalyst for Food Shed, their farm was on reserved land for the Palma tribe, and so they had leased for about 10 years, and while on that lease, they also had a relationship with the tribe to have a farm apprentice program. And I'll also say that the tribe had also supported the incubator farm that your stepmom was a part of. And so that relationship actually extends even beyond the 10 years to a prior period where the tribe had opened up the land for incubating farm businesses started by refugees. And so that relationship continued until recently, wherein the tribe decided that they were going to, I think, expand their agricultural operations. So I'm not sure about the sourcing. Maybe KK, I don't know if you can speak to, KK is a part of Food Shed and knows a little bit more about the relationships if you want to shout out where things are at in terms of that procurement.
Yeah, we right now we just are sourcing from one tribal farm called Golden Eagle, but we also do deliver produce to the South Indian Council as well.
Yeah, and then actually if there's anything that you want to elaborate on in terms of the Indigenous Foodways Trail, that was also a collaboration between Food Shed and the Tribal Interagency Council. I'm just going to drop in a bunch of little tidbits that I've heard about, but yeah, I don't know if you have anything more to say about that.
I don't think I know much about that yet.
Yeah, sorry to put you on the spot, but thank you for filling in on the other parts. So just to say that there's that relationship that is foundational for so many of the farmers and co-ops in the region, and then also hoping to continue with that relationship and integration moving forward.
One thing I would really love to see is a healthy food financing initiative in San Diego County and the state of California, and a lot of states. Federal government has one that helps provide various types of financing, like grants and loans, technical assistance to bringing healthy food to communities. And then I have to say, for us, we're not a nonprofit, but having the opportunity to be able to apply for grants through having a fiscal sponsor has been very helpful. So actually, that's something that hasn't been a barrier for us, fortunately. But that can be challenging when you're a business to be able to get grants.
For us, I think the main issue is land access. And after Mai just mentioned that Solidarity Farm, which was originally in Valley Center, lost its tenure, which was a 10-year lease. That meant that, and that means that incubation of new farmers came to a stop. But thankfully, we are happy to say the San Diego County and the San Diego Food Systems Alliance came together to assist Foodshed with more than 40 acres of land in the ag preserve right here in Escondido. And so that is gonna, yeah, I'll clap hands to that. And so with that 40 acres, we are going to be able to restart again incubation of new farmers, because definitely land access is an issue. It's very, very difficult to find agricultural land right now, and at what cost, you know? And so we are so grateful for that. And we are able to grow new farmers, you know, let them learn how to grow stuff. They will have like half an acre, quarter of an acre to start with, and then from there they can then restart their own farm somewhere else. So we are grateful for land access through the county and San Diego Food Systems Alliance.
Yeah, and I think that maintaining the agricultural land that we have and maybe, you know, creating more. I know in South County, I think the county's talking about building sports fields in area that was, you know, formerly agricultural. And I know, you know, we need sports fields as well, but we have so little agricultural land left. I think we need to preserve at least what we have and hopefully get some more.
This is a juicy one, girl. This is a juicy one. This is juicy, okay? I say that because money, yes. Land trust initiatives, absolutely. What would that look like if your cooperatives had some acreage of land where there could be farming and the shops and that again, I'm going with that alignment mindset and being able to pull people in, and we all build upon each other and all the things. Where is that area at in our lives? That's something that I think the county could help with, discretionary funds, budgets, all that kind of stuff, right? The other thing is just within the county structure and some of the experience that I've recently had, without throwing anybody under the bus, because I love all people. I love them all. I love them all. Bless their hearts. But within the structure, in county systems, in city systems, when these applications go out to folks to participate and come in, bring your business, put it here at the county and all this stuff, that you have infrastructure that supports that when we get there. 100%. I've had so many of my fellow business owners say, oh, they didn't get everything up front. They came back 5 times and said, this is wrong and you got to do it over again. Or, you know, make sure that when these things are being collaborated with the city and county governments, that you have an infrastructure that really supports it. And you go there one time. And everybody that's supposed to be involved in that process is available there, understanding DH's piece and you know, the structural pieces and the architecture and the leasing and all those things. That's so important. It is so important. And I keep hearing a recurring pain that happens. And then you start one thing and you think you got everything, and then you got to go back and get something else. And before you know it, you're 5 figures in the red for the year. We can't absorb that. And we shouldn't have to. So the mindset, understanding, commitment from our government leaders and policy makers is what we need from you all. Absolutely what we need. And we are there gung-ho. We ready. We ready to go. We ready to do this. We're ready to be on that acreage and that farm and that co-op and that affordable housing on top and all the stuff. We want to do it. We need a pathway, and we need some help and some organization within the ranks to get it done. That's it.
I almost forgot one major one as well. Through the USDA, there has been funding that's rolling right now that is supporting purchases from local small farms. And so that is called the Local Food Purchasing Program. And with that, how that is helping the farmer is that there is funding that goes to Foodshed for all these boxes that we're talking about to be bought directly from the small farm, and that way, that is a great market for the farmers. The contracts run, for every 3 months. They're renewed, and hopefully it could last for like a year or 2 or 3. And so I think that is a great policy to actually purchase food directly from the small farms.
Yeah, I think just to kind of wrap up the policy piece and recommendations, I think it's great to hear about the specific county and municipal level policies that we can affect and adopt policies similar to what other cities across the country who've developed these ecosystems have adopted, such as having an ordinance that says we are going to support cooperatives. Cooperative housing, worker cooperatives, producer cooperatives, all kinds, right? And from making that statement, then having a strategic plan with funding and a long-term vision that is resourced has been critical. So again, just the teaser for that session later, that if you want to hear about more policies, that's on this local level. And then I'm so glad that you brought up the federal level, because that is really what sets the stage tax-wise, because the IRS cares about what the federal government says about supporting cooperatives. And so I'll say that under the previous federal administration, cooperatives were taken off of the Small Business Administration's website. This meant that when people looked for information about how to start up a co-op, they couldn't find it on a federal website, right? And one of the top priorities of the previous administration was to get rid of co-op development within the first 100 days. So what they managed to do was to relocate where co-op development resources happened, which is in the USDA, the Rural Development Division. They moved the staff around such that the people who had the long-term knowledge, the experience of starting up co-ops, were no longer on those projects. So if anyone did call for help on starting up a co-op, they just got a newbie, an intern, right? And so that erosion of the knowledge, the institutional memory of how to start up co-ops, we're still recovering from that when the current administration came in and tried to rebuild co-op development. So I encourage you all to think about co-op support at the city level, county level, state level, as well as our national level. Yeah. So I hope you come to the ecosystem session later. We'll talk about more policies that can be adopted, but we still have room for maybe 2 more questions. I see 5 hands. So we'll see if there's any overlap. How about actually, I'm gonna call on each of you to ask your questions, and we'll see if there's some integration that can be done. Okay, so please raise your hands if you have a question, and I'll call on each of you one by one, and we'll hear from each of you. I'll start from this side of the room. Yes.
I actually wanted to ask the lady from the county or compliment. I'm at a mushroom farm, and they have pretty good insight on issues with that Byron brought up about farmers getting 10 cents, 12 cents on the dollar, and things that Foodshed does getting 70 cents, 80 cents a dollar. We supply Whole Foods sprouts for up and down the road. And it's a big contract for us, and God bless the work that Foodshed does, but one of the biggest problems I deal with the large-scale stores is that they only want to talk to one voice. They do not give a shit about like small farms. It's too much of a headache for them. And one of the biggest barriers I see when I go around the regions in LA and San Diego is there's no food from local farms on the shelves of these stores. And it's bullshit. People want to eat local, they want to buy local, they want to support their farms. And the burden on the small farms in this region is so it's so difficult to pass through and work farmers markets and take up all that time and not have like the ability to actually sell your stuff at retail and always have to do it with distributors. And so from the county level, what the counties can do is put a burden back on the big stores and say, you need to buy at least 30 to 40% local and figure it out. Co-ops actually, and I don't want to put more work on all the great work that Foodshed does because they're amazing for the small farms in the region, is that they actually aggregate all of our supply already. And so as that one voice, they can become, co-ops can become like a competitor to the distribution model that has got a like virtual monopoly on all of the big stores in the region. Like I can go to Jimbo's and I can get buying from Northern California mushrooms. Like same thing from Albertsons and Kroger's, they're buying from Canada. They're not buying food from the local. And then the reason being is they don't have to talk to. So from the county level, coming up with like some kind of like ability to force, I don't care if it's 20% or start somewhere, where we have a way to wedge ourselves in there and compete with the distribution model, which is taking so much money from us. When I sell distribution, my final price on the shelves of Whole Foods and Sprouts is it's 225% markup from what I sell for. That's just crazy. And so all the fatty layer in between is making all the money and we're making nothing.
Yeah, so, I mean, these are all great points about creating an economy of scale through cooperatives, right, so that you can be competitive and be an alternative to these big distributors. And then I'm also hearing the component about prioritizing procurement and having policies that actually help and mandate percentage that comes from local farms. And so I think, yeah, we'll add that to the pool of kind of considerations of what panelists can speak to. And then there were 4 other hands. Again, moving this way, yes, the magenta royal colors there.
So something that she said was, I have a question of co-ops where I question why is it so hard, right? And I think of the fact that cooperative movements are inherently indigenous ancestral which is a threat to capitalism, and we know that capitalism is tied to all these racking systems of oppression, like xenophobia, anti-blackness, translating all these things live together, right? So my question really lives in what work is being done within the cooperatives or spatial systems now, like what work do you hope to be able to do, both internally and externally to also challenge those systems of oppression as you're fighting for injustice.
Again, we're gonna move through all these great questions and integrate them into your responses. So far, economy of scale, prioritizing local, how are people working through anti-oppression within the cooperative, all right?
And I'll connect my question somewhat to yours in that thinking about capitalism and how retail, so thinking specifically like how retail works within capitalism. And I'm wondering about sustainability and climate justice and all of these elements. And I'm wondering the co-op model, what might be an example of how you prioritize those goals in that, and local procurement being a very obvious one, but I'm curious about some others where, you know, that might not be happening in other
Okay, great, so we're taking that in. How are you solving all the world's problems through your grocery store? And one last question there.
Yeah, and I'm also curious, because it is a new kind of a model that is not foregrounded, from kind of the internal organizational structure, how are maybe new decision-making models taught, or kind of all of the operational sort of the internal workings of the co-op taught to new staff or new people that come in? Because I've been involved in some co-ops, and that sometimes there's a large learning curve. So I'm just curious how that's involved.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to weave those questions together. And what I'm taking, and sorry if I'm leaving out pieces here, but it's like, how is your co-op recognizing the challenges that we face and integrating them into your operations in a way that can be passed on, like operationalized, made into policies, and people can be trained on, so that you have a cohesive group that can work at the economy of scale so that you can meet needs, get into larger institutions. And then I think we heard about how we can all, as policymakers in our democracy, how we all can prioritize that procurement so that we have a greater percentage coming from co-ops. But the key part is, how are you integrating values that then address these challenges, operationalizing them, and ensuring that everyone in the co-op is integrated and passing it on.
Wow.
No, you're already doing it. You just get to tell the story now.
So, powerful questions and a powerful summary of the questions. From the Foodshed perspective, I think we do have board development. We definitely look at board development to say, okay, what are the new things that are in the food system that we really need to look at and train the board members on those issues so we can actually also be relevant, right, and up to date on the things that are happening currently in our system. And we also have one position on the board of an external representative. That person is from the food system, and they bring in all this new knowledge on things that are happening, policies that we need to address. Because I mean, as farmers, we are not really like sharp on the policies that need to be looked at, right? But having different representatives that come into the board every 2 years, we are definitely updated on those issues that we need to address, issues of economies of scale, to be able to be part of the local stores. That's a big, big thing. And that's one of the reasons why we had to come up together. I mean, it is even now very difficult for me to just walk to the food bank and say, I want to bring stuff to you. They'll be like, okay, these are the things you have to look at. And oh boy, for me to get from number 1 to 65, I need 5 years, all right? And so, but having that one voice helps us to meet these markets, as well as if the county, this is where I wanted to come in, we also are working so hard with all these stakeholders like the county, like San Diego Food Systems Alliance, to bring food justice on the table. I mean, San Diego Food Systems Alliance is a giant. I think we need to clap hands for these guys. We need to. You know, just sitting down with Sana to just understand the food justice and governance and policies that the food system needs in San Diego. She's an amazing woman. The organization is powerful in just addressing these issues. And we get to, as Foodshed, we rub shoulders with them just to understand how we can bring food justice on the table. And with the county, we are sitting down with them how to just have access to the land, right? The last time I had one of you guys speak, I think, what's his name? The name doesn't matter. I think Eric, And what he was talking about is we are realizing that we are pushing all this agricultural land to all these developers, right? And we are realizing we need to turn that around. We got to have food produced in our own city and let our stores have our own food, right? And getting to that realization gives us so much empowerment as farmers to say, okay, at least we can grow food really for our community, right? And people are appreciating the work which the farmers are actually doing. And to actually, I mean, if we are not gonna grow our own food, who's gonna grow it for us? I mean, who's gonna do it? You know, who's gonna do it? So we got to realize that and bring these policies right so that we have survival of the small farmer. We have survival. The big stores must buy from the small farmer so that the small farmer can still survive, right? And I think that brings the justice to the table. I think with that, I try to summarize the question. Thank you.
Yeah, good. I think you said it really well, Byron. I don't know what else I can add. But other than, I think you started with board development, and I think creating a culture of learning in your organization is really important. We all came into it not knowing a lot about co-ops and just taking every single opportunity we could find to learn and learn from people who have come before us, who have done it before, who both failed and succeeded, because you learn, from both of those lessons. And, staying connected with peers, learning from each other, talking to everybody about co-ops that we can, whether it's my neighbor or my state assembly person, just letting them know, how valuable this is, and, trying to stay connected, having opportunities like this. Again, I really appreciate San Diego Food System Alliance bringing us together. San Diego Promise Zone had, some of these workshops at Cafe X that were helpful. I think, bringing us together, talking about it, and then being out there, talking to folks and making it happen. I think that, we learn from each other, and we just have to keep doing that.
Large summary. But I started way back at the beginning of this conversation saying, who's the fabulous 2, fantastic 5, wonderful 9, or whatever that's going to be. You have to find that base group of people, that foundation of people, that voice that goes out and speaks and runs in those circles, those connections that you have where your voice can be larger than life. Okay? That's one. The alignment within your group, when we talk about, well, how do you connect and you deal, I think, Ms. Kelsey, you're talking to your question about how do you do that? We put each other first. We're having events, we're planning events, you need to invite people. We need to figure that out. We need to really stay connected. And the economies of scale thing. What I've learned is you can't do an economies of scale if you don't have a base foundational policy and procedures and operations plan and map that works. I spent a lot of time of creating it, revising it, updating it, training it, retraining it, and that has to be in place. If you're talking about the economies of scale, you have to have those pieces in place. And I also learned in recent, and my daughter, she's teaching me a lot of stuff too. It's so cool. We're learning a lot of things together with a consult. But I had mentioned earlier, this is all energy. It's an energy flow. We pick up on the energy. We keep the vibration high. We encourage each other. These are really how things grow. They sometimes don't even grow through paperwork. They grow because May was excited about what we were trying to do at Cafe X. San Diego Food System Alliance says, oh, we'd love to have you on our pollinator program. Incubate here. Let's grow together. There's a need for this kind of collaboration. That's the crux of it. And believe it or not, I'm sitting here looking at you, and there's energy in this room. I'm looking at eyeballs, and people got smiles. They're inquisitive. There's all this stuff, and I feel that energy. You need to go into a room knowing and feeling that energy. Life is good and it can only get better. So making those affirmations and know that this is possible. Although there are difficulties, it's not impossible, you know. And as long as we're here and we're breathing, we have an opportunity to make the changes we want to see. So I am encouraged every year when I come here and we do the catering here and I get to meet all the people and see the faces over again and have the discussions and all the things. I'm always excited. It changes my energy, it changes my mood, it changes how I'm looking when I'm walking off the campus and getting in my car to go home. And I know I'm going to see some of y'all at Cafe X. I know we're going to have those meetups. We have a hip-hop thing going on the 27th. I hope we all dancing out there, you know, talking more about how we can grow and interconnect all of these ideas and create the roadmap that we need to follow. We don't have to follow someone else's roadmap. That's the other thing. We can create our own. We were born with that. So I say, let's go build the map and let's go build some stuff. So thank you, that's all.
Thank you. Thank you all for answering that really big question and hearing about how you are really living the fourth principle of the International Principle of Cooperatives of ongoing education and training, that's how you are addressing these challenges, these great societal issues of climate change, social inequality, injustices. And what I am taking away from what you're saying in that process of learning from each other within and then also from those around you is that it's a process, not a place. You don't arrive there, but it's really the system where there's a hierarchy, where there's a decision maker, where there's a finite place where someone says, you've learned enough and that's it, right? That's not our reality, right? We're always learning from each other. And that the co-op model, beyond the principles, has that as a core part of its structure. By being inclusive and democratic, by bringing people in, it is going to be anti-oppressive because every single person is a decision maker. And so as we practice that democracy amongst ourselves in our co-ops, we are achieving the economy of scale of democracy in our society. So thank you for deepening democracy and inclusion and anti-oppression in your work. And I just want to close to this session with recognizing again that you are the key holders of the cooperative movement in San Diego. And so I would just welcome you to give a blessing or a well wish to each other's co-ops as our closing.
Okay. Well, I just wish that you both continue to find the support that you need to be successful, and that you continue to share your amazing knowledge and passion with the rest of our communities so that we can all become more cooperative in the work that we do.
And I wish you both long life in the co-op and to continue to make a difference in the community.
Okay. I wish you continued success. I wish you connectedness and everything good that life has to offer in this environment and beyond. So, yeah, good luck to you all. And I wish you get down to Cafe X so we can do some stuff.
Okay, everyone, please thank our panelists, our co-op leaders. All right, well, breakfast was delicious. I'm sure you thought. Well, lunch is going to be even better. So you're welcome to make your way outside. There will be a little brief break, and then food will commence.